Okay, time for our next guest now. And so many businesses have been forced to adapt and evolve as a result of the pandemic just to survive. And we're about to hear the story of one. Our next guest is a startup entrepreneur in the UK who pivoted through lockdown and appears to be going pretty well now. Abbi Head from the Visuals Advisor joins me live now. Abbi, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. No, thank you very much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
No, yeah, no, it's our pleasure to have you join us on the program. Tell us a little bit about your journey, especially through the past 18 months or so, and how you've had to pivot your business as a result of the pandemic.
Absolutely. Yes, I have a jewellery business, and it was very difficult. The immediate effect of lockdown meant that the London assay office for me was unavailable, and also the casting companies were struggling to socially distance, and some of those were unable to work as well. So for me, it was a period of time where I felt I was unable to really focus on getting my clients the production that they needed in the timescales that I normally offered. So after about half the year, it was interesting because a friend of mine asked me to do her branding, and as a trained graphic designer, I thought, I think I'll give that a go, and I enjoyed it so much, and I just ended up creating the Visuals Advisor, and it was a pivot that I never knew was going to happen, and it's been such an exciting journey, and it's brought me here.
Yeah, so quite clearly it's a pivot that you have no regrets about. What are some of the lessons that you've learned over the past 18 months? I bet there's, you probably don't have time to go through them all.
I have learned some very valuable lessons over the last 18 months. It's been a challenging time for absolutely everybody, and I know this personally because my mother passed away of COVID in October last year. I think one of the things that really has been a learning curve for me is how I've really laser focused what I've done with my business as almost like to counteract how I feel going through the grief process, like many, many other people. So what I've been able to do is map the positivity of what I'm doing with my business onto my own personal emotions as well. And that's given me a bolster, which I think I'll be able to carry forward. And I think a lot of people have learned these things.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear about your mother's death. So in some ways, this has served as a coping mechanism for you, just having that laser-like focus on work, on business, and that aspect of your life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know, thinking of the things that I'm doing now, I'd started the business in August last year, and my mother was very, very proud that I was doing something in the field that I very, accomplished in with a 10-year experience of working with digital. So I just absolutely, I know that she would be so proud of what I'm doing. And I think that's really taught me to have a clear message to people, and to have the ability to go back to the people who I work for, my clients, and say to them, we have the ability now, because of the way the world is and because we've adapted to it, to have this sort of virtually connected world where we can get, really strong messages across any divide that we normally used to have. So, yeah.
Yeah, and how do you see your work or your approach changing moving forward as life resumes to some form of normality as there's more face to face contact? Do you think this online, this virtual presence will still remain an incredibly useful and important tool for you?
I'd like to think that it will. I like to think that it will. I think many of us have adapted. We have to now readapt again now that everything's opening up and the restrictions are lifting once again. And I think the connection that we've made with people, even in the world, over Zoom. I mean, I am a member of Toastmasters International, and I am in a club which is, I've never met any of the members, and it's been an incredible experience to be able to enjoy the realm of public speaking, and that has given me the confidence more so to engage with people further afield. And I was very surprised when I first started the Visuals Advisor when I had people asking me about what I do from as far as Bulgaria and Zimbabwe. And I thought that was something that perhaps we'd not really explored before. We'd not really sort of thought of it in that way. So,
Yeah, if any of our viewers want to learn more about what you're doing and about the Visuals Advisor, where can they head online to find out more about it?
yes, I'm available on, I have a website at www.thevisualsadvisor.co.uk. I am also very present on several social media, particularly LinkedIn. I'm always there hanging out. And also, I think the most exciting thing that's come for me from this connection of people, sort of worldwide, has been the journey that I've gone on with. I'm going to be putting a course on mastermind.com, and I'm going to be able to give back to the person I was in my 20s when I was at university and when I was sort of able, to be thinking about my future at that age. And there's going to be a lot of young people thinking about that. And I'm hoping to help them be creative about how to design their business plans. And I think that would be something I want to give back. And I think that's one of the main things that I've learned through the pandemic is the giving back. And we are so much more generous with that. And we're not driven in the everyday sort of world that we normally were. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we'd love to have you back here on Ticker at some point to discuss that as well. Yeah, yours is such an inspiring story, and yeah,
Oh,
it's great to hear just how well you're doing from a business perspective, what you've managed to do. COVID has thrown all sorts of hurdles at so many of us. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story.
no, that's fine. And yes, thank you for having me.